Përshëndetje të gjithëve. Mirë se keni ardhur tek ky kas që po organizojmë me një ndër vendorët dhe një ndër partnerët tanë këtu në Infosoft Systems. Bëhet fjalë për Vim Software, një ndër kompanitë e cila është lider në fushën e backup and recovery technologies. Unë jam Manol Vojga, technology lead dhe inxhinier sistemesh për zgjidhje cloud, dhe Joni do jetë me ne sot për të folur rreth teknologjive të sigurisë që ofron Vim në lidhje me teknikat për backup and recovery options. Faleminderit gjithëve për pjesëmarrjen. Me ne sot do jetë dhe Cornel Popescu, senior system engineer from Vim, and Anna as well from marketing department. They helped us a lot. Thank you guys for being on this webinar. Cornel, after some 20 minutes, will take the action for some presentation of Vim features and products, and so on. He will make a demo for all of you. It's very big enough to know about the demonstration of the new features that V10 already in availability suite and all kind of features that it offers. Cornel is in us. Ne kemi menduar të bëjmë në vazhdim diskutimin për një prezantim rreth 20 minuta në lidhje me atë çka ne do ofrojmë sot si njohuri për të gjithë partnerët dhe gjithë klientët tanë. Do ta bëjmë në shqip. Kjo është në dakordsi dhe me partnerin. Plani i parë i prezantimit ofron ekosistemin e Vimit në lidhje me produktet që aktualisht ka në portfolin e tij për zgjidhje backup, për zgjidhje replikimi, për zgjidhje recover, edhe për integrimin e të gjithë këtyre funksioneve, të gjithë këtyre featureve që ofron e gjithë platforma Vim Availability Suite dhe orkestrimi dhe automatizimi i gjithë proceseve në Vim Platform Software, në integrimi i tyre në cloud publik, në cloud privat dhe hibridizimi i gjithë operacioneve. Disa nga produktet më të mira dhe më të përdorshme, gjithë tregu aktualisht edhe një pjesë shumë e mirë e klientëve tanë kanë të stabilizuar teknologji Vim në on-premin, në infrastrukturën e tyre, janë të fokusuara në infrastructure as a service, në infrastrukturë përgjithsisht. Një pjesë shumë e madhe e klientëve tanë edhe një pjesë shumë e madhe e gjithë partnerëve rekomandojnë që të krijohet një ambient shumë capable për të gjithë, një ambient i përshtatshëm capable për të gjithë featuret që ofron Vim, duke filluar që nga backup and recovery, duke filluar që nga integrimi me cloudin publik, me gjithë vendorët që ofrojnë shërbime në cloud publik. Patjetër që është një platformë software e cila është compliant me zgjidhje qeveritare, ofron orkestrim dhe automatizim të gjithë proceseve, qoftë në skedulim backup, qoftë në skedulim recovery, qoftë në retention points, në gjithë kapabilitetet teknike që ofron dhe sistemi monitorimit Vim1, dhe ka një dashboard shumë të integruar analitik dhe raportues sipas teknikave që çdo sistem admin dhe çdo administrator i ambientit teknik do donte që të kishte një vizibilitet, një pamje të plot të infrastrukturës. Pointi më i fortë për momentin, ai ku ne duhet ta fokusojmë kontaktin ton si integrator sistemesh me gjithë klientët, është pjesa e parë dhe e rëndësishme e produkteve që ofron Vim, Vim Backup and Replication, i cili trajton të tre pilarët, të tre vertikalin e integrimit me cloud, të ambienteve virtuale dhe të ambienteve fizik. Patjetër, integrimet e platformës Vim Availability Suite ku përfshin backup and replication dhe sistemin e monitorimit Vim1, por patjetër edhe orchestratori i Vim, patjetër edhe teknologjitë e reja që në versionin e fundit janë integruar për NAS backups, janë të përshtatshme për të rënë në çdo cloud, për të rënë në cloud publik, për të rënë në një cloud privat dhe për të bërë me anë të gjithë teknikave që Vim i ofron nëpërmjet produktit Cloud Connect për të bërë integrimin e plot infrastrukturës on-prem me vendorët publik. Ka një disponueshmëri shumë të lartë të featureve që ofron Vim në kuadër të platformës Backup and Replication për të bërë në mënyrë native backupin e aplikacioneve, të workloadeve dhe të pajisjeve fizike, patjetër. Kështu që Ne mund shikojmë gjithë linjën e produkteve që aktualisht janë të përshtatshme për të krijuar një demo në të cilën Cornel do të kujdeset në 10-15 minutat e fundit për të krijuar një ide të përgjithshme të dashboardit, monitorimit dhe të raportimit dhe të krijimit të skedulerave që i përket versionit 10, versionit më të fundit të platformave Vim. Si kuadër software për backup dhe replikim, për recovery, aplikacionesh, templatesh, objektesh të virtualizuara e tjerë. Ka një integrim shumë të suksesshëm të Vimit me disa nga vendorët që janë partner të Infosoft si integrator. Disa nga partnerët tanë që janë po ashtu hardware vendor ofrojnë zgjidhje me teknikat deduplikimit dhe kompresimit si capacity saving algorithms edhe mbito shumë lehtë i implementueshëm një sistem i cili lexon inline të gjithë këto kapabilitete që ofrojnë hardware-ët. Dhe ne kemi menduar që në të ardhmen përveç se të ofrojmë platforma Vim, t'i ofrojmë ato si complete system, për shkak se Vim të paktën do dojë një backup storage, të paktën do dojë një infrastrukturë fizike, të paktën ka një kërkesë mandatore që të ranojë një sistem në fully compliant mode, të ketë një ambient fizik për të kryer backup dhe për të kryer recovery nga këto. Me që disa nga vendorët hardware prodhojnë pajisje të cilat janë full compliant me Vim, janë capable për të rënë të gjithë teknikat e deduplikimit dhe kompresimit, si capacity saving, por edhe në lidhje me performancën që ato ofrojnë, për fast recovering dhe fast backups. Ne kemi menduar që të jetë një pjesë shumë e bukur e zgjidhjeve teknike dhe asaj çka duhet ofrojmë për gjithë klientët, krijimi një plani complete system. Dhe po ashtu, përveç fazës së parë ku backup and repository with the duplication appliances është në fokusin tonë për zgjidhjet që ne ofrojmë, patjetër Vim shërben si lexues dhe i plot integrueshëm me ambientet storage objects dhe block storage dhe ka një listë të plot të të gjithë pajisjeve që kanë suport të plot nga Vim për të menaxhuar snapshotet, për të menaxhuar lunet, backup, recovery të tyre e tjerë. Kjo është plani i infrastrukturor, është tërësia e produkteve infrastrukturore që ofron Vim në kuadër të integrimeve dhe me vendorë të tjerë. Dhe është një hap më tej për të cilin ne do kujdesemi dhe të gjithë zgjidhjet tona teknike patjetër si integrator do shkojnë në fokusin jo vetëm për infrastructure deployment, por edhe në infrastructure protect. Kjo konsiderohet si art, patjetër që konsiderohet si art dhe duke u konsideruar si tillë ka fokusin tonë që në vijim zgjidhjet jenë të kompletuara dhe të jenë compliant me çdo status. Në vijim, pra më tej, disa nga karakteristikat shumë themeltare që Vim ofron në kuadër të mbrojtjes së infrastrukturave virtuale dhe fizike, janë dhe mbrojtja nga krimet kibernetike. Kështu që Joni, si pjesë e grupit cyber security këtu në Infosoft System, do flas për disa gjëra që ai ka përgatitur në lidhje me këtë modul mbrojtje. Faleminderit.
Faleminderit Manol. Tani pjesa ime, siç e tha Manoli, unë do flasim për pjesën e cyber security dhe do shikojmë se si ndihmon pjesa e Vimit për në pjesën e aspektit të cyber security dhe cilat janë pikat e saj të forta. Atëherë, ajo çfarë unë do flas është për pjesën e ransomware. Të gjithë e njohim ransomware, të gjithë e dim domethënë pak a shumë dëmin që ata sjellin. Ne problematikat që shfaqen, do shikojmë se si është situata globale për sa i përket ransomware, si ka qenë vitet më përpara dhe si është në vitin vazhdim, duke pasur një vit si 2020, i cili për shkak të pandemisë ka detyruar që shumë nga kompanitë punojnë remote dhe mos punojnë më në përzyra, mos jetë ajo politika e qëndërzuar që kanë pasur kompanitë mëdha, por është tashmë njerëzit janë me kompjuterat të cilët punojnë remote office dhe përdorin i kanë më pak restricted, politikat e sigurisë për sa i përket aksesin që kanë në internet, mënyrën se si ato aksesojnë dhënat, dhe do shikojmë disa të cilat janë attacking vectors për sa i përket ransomwares, dhe në fund fare do shikojmë dhe si ne mund të mbrohemi për sa i përket ransomware. Atëherë, çfarë janë ransomware? Ransomware të gjithë e dim janë një lloj malware, malicious software, i cili bën enkriptimin e falave të viktimës. Që do thotë, nëse një kompjuter i një personi apo një viktime bie pre e ransomware, të dhënat e tij enkriptohen. Për të përfituar, arsyeja pse quhen ransomware është sepse në mënyrën që ti marrësh përsëri dhënat e tua, duhet të paguash lek kundrejt për të përfituar përsëri dhënat e tua. Dhe këto këto pagesa bëhen nëpërmjet cryptocurrency. Ransomware-et nuk janë të rinj, sepse shumë njerëz e kujtojnë si fillim të viteve 2005 apo 2008. Në të vërtetë ransomware kanë filluar që 1989 me PC Cyber, që ka qenë ransomware i parë, por kuptohet që nga 1990 dhe 1989 deri në 2005 ka qenë shumë vështira për të marrë mbrapsht pagesa nga ransomware, dhe prandaj nuk ka pasur shumë fokus në to, sepse ishte shumë e vështirë për të rimarrë pagesën. Sulmuesi kishte shumë vështirë për të marrë pagesën. Me daljen e Bitcoinit dhe cryptocurrency ishte hapi i cili e shtoi akoma dhe më shumë të pjesën e ransomware dhe suneve të cilat vijnë nëpërmjet ransomware. Do shikojmë global situation. Global situation, siç mund ta shikoni edhe nga këto dy imazhe, është një përmbledhje, një tabloid i plot i situatës aktuale në botë për sa i përket ransomware dhe dëmit të madh që ato shkaktojnë. Siç mund të shikojmë, kemi 2017, sumnet fillojnë që në 2015, ku shuma që pagueshin për ransomware ishte shumë e vogël, diku te $325 milionë, ishte dëm i shkaktuar. Pastaj në 2017 kemi një boom, kemi në 5 bilion, pastaj në 2018 në $8 bilion, ka pasur një rritje të vogël në 2019 në $11.5 milion dhe në 2021 pritet që ky dëm që shkaktohet nga ransomware të jetë gjithmonë në rritje dhe të shkojnë diku te $20 milion. Do të thonë që është $20 miliard, që është një vlerë goxha e madhe. Gjithashtu këtu mund të shikojmë që shumica e suneve që vijnë nëpërmjet ransomware janë kryesisht nga phishing. Një gjë që duhet kemi parasysh, si çdo version i software-it që evolon, edhe ransomware-et kanë kaluar në një version nga 1.0, kanë mbajtur në versionin 2.0 dhe tashmë nuk mjaftohen vetëm me të dhënat e përdoruesit që i cili kanë kompjuter, por ata shkojnë edhe më tutje, ata shkojnë drejt prishjes së backupit të dhënave që mund të ketë një përdorues, marrjes së kredencialeve, nxjerrjes së të dhënave etj. Siç mund të shikojmë, kemi një rritje dhe një problematik shumë të madhe për sa i përket ransomware dhe për këtë ne duhet të jemi shumë të kujdesshëm, sidomos tani që shumë nga punonjësit tanë nuk janë më fizikisht në zyrë dhe ne nuk mund t'i kontrollojmë në çdo moment se çfarë email-esh ata hapin, se çfarë të dhënash ata shikojnë në web dhe nuk mund t'ja kufizojmë dot. Prandaj kemi edhe attacking vectors, ishte një pikë interesante që doja të prekjen për sa i përket prezantimit të ransomware, sepse siç e thash në fillim dhe siç e patë tek pjesa atyre dy imazheve të cilët jepin një situatën globale për sa i përket ransomware-ve, email attachments janë vektori i parë i cili përdoret për të sulmuar një kompani, një person, një user, sepse user përgjithsisht janë të pakujdesshëm, nuk kanë akoma atë pjesën nuk kanë pjesën e përgjegjësimit për sa i përket emailëve dhe çfarë duhet të hapin, çfarë nuk duhet të hapin. Shumica në rasteve të gjithë ransomware-et fshihen mbrapa një fajli, i cili më duke mund të jetë i pafajshëm, mos ketë asnjë problematik, por në momentin që ti e hap atë fajlin, ai automatikisht ekzekutohet. Të gjithë ransomware-et, siç dhe ne mund ta dimë, është që nuk e japin efektin të njerëzve. Përgjithsisht ata marrin një farë kohe për ta inkriptuar gjithë hard drive-in dhe një ditë të shfaqen një tabelë që ti duhet të paguash lekët dhe kaq. Dhe ti ke kohë për të paguar këto lekë për një periudhë 72 orë apo 48 orë, dhe në sa më shpejt që ti paguan, aq më poshtë ulet çmimi që ti duhet paguash. Social media, messages, edhe kjo është një mënyrë që përdoret fort sot nga hakerat për të bërë që përdoruesit të hapin fajla që kanë brenda ransomware apo malware të tjera. Gjithmonë ke hakerat të cilat bëjnë social attacking, do të marrin informacion për viktimën dhe hiqen sikur janë pastaj një afër me viktimës dhe i dërgojnë atij mesazhe të cilat janë disi të maskuara, ku nga mbrapa ka një ransomware i cili është i fshehur në një file, një figurë e tjerë. Pop-upset kanë të bëjnë me pjesën e faqeve web që personat vetë shikojnë dhe janë të pakujdesshëm. Ti shikon një faqe web dhe tendenca e personit është që të klikojë mbi ato. Dhe aty pastaj shfaqen ransomware. Por si ne mund të mbrohemi nga ransomware? Nga ransomware dhe jo vetëm, ne mund të mbrohemi duke updateuar sistemin operativ dhe paçuar atë në mënyrë periodike, patjetër, duke pasur kujdes në instalimin e softwareve, të cilët mund kërkojnë drejtat e administrative, privilegjeve administrative, duke instaluar një software antivirus i cili ka përveç standardit të antivirusit jep mundësinë edhe për application whitelisting, duke bërë të mundur që të kontrollojë edhe cilat janë aplikacionet të cilat kanë të drejtat caktuara apo që mund të instalohen. Dhe ç'është më kryesorja, ne mund të mbrohemi nga ransomware vetëm duke bërë backup fajlave tonë në mënyrë frekuente dhe automatike. Kjo e thënë, do të thotë që ransomware sot në tregun global janë shumë dinamik, ata zhvillohen shumë shpejt dhe ti nuk arrin dot ti ndjekësh qoftë me update-et e OS-s, qoftë me paçimin e sistemit, qoftë me aplikacionet të cilat ti instalon në sistemin tënd dhe antiviruset që ti instalon në sistemin tënd operativ, userat nuk arrin dot të mbrohesh nga këto. Dhe vetmja mënyrë dhe si thua dhe pika e fundit që ti ke kundrejt një ransomware është të kesh backup fajlet e tua. Dhe këto backup duhet kryen në formë periodike, automatike, dhe sa më shpesh tjetë mundur në mënyrë që ne të kemi gjithmonë variantin, versionin më të fundit të dokumentave tonë, që mos të humbim ose të humbim sa më pak nga një sulm. Është e kotë të themi që nuk ka një bulletproof, nuk ka një zgjidhje bulletproof, të thosh. Nuk ka një zgjidhje e cila t'japi në çdo moment na mbroj kundrejt çdo gjëje. Por ne kemi në dorë që të bëjmë backupin e fajleve dhe këtë ta bëjmë sa më të shpesh, sa më automatike dhe sa më thjesht të jetë mundur. Sepse kjo na sjell neve mundësinë që të bëjmë backupin dhe të kemi gjithmonë një armë më shumë për të mbrojtur kundrejt sulmuesve dhe hakerave. Mendoj që kjo ishte pjesa për sa i përket ransomware-t, pjesa më kryesore. Do ju lutesha që në fund të prezantimit të plotësoni një survey për sa i përket webinarit dhe si ai duket dhe informacioni sa i vlefshëm ishte ai për ju. Tashmë fjalën do ja kaloj Cornel. Hi, Cornel, can you hear me? Now it's your time to show us the magic of Vim, so we can all see what are the things that Vim can do for us to help us.
Absolutely. Hi, everybody. Yes, thank you, Manuel. Thank you, Jan. It's my turn now, so I will make myself presenter. Good, and let me share also. 1 second. Okay. I have to share my screen with you. So, okay, this one. Now it should come up. Good. So, hi from me. Welcome everybody. I have to use English. as I'm Romanian and I'm not speaking Albanian, I do understand few things, and I think I got some ideas about what Manuel and Jan are saying about ransomware, and I totally agree with on the security side. We are not a security company. So my name is Cornel Popescu. I'm system engineer working for Veeam, and we are a data protection company. And we do protect data in form of a backup and a copy of data, right? So we are not a security company that can build a fence or a shield around your data and around your applications. But this is the last resort, right? If somehow the data is lost, if somehow the data needs to be recovered, we can provide the recovery, and we can provide the tools in order for you to recover after an incident, after a security incident, after ransomware. So basically, I'm always saying that you need security in terms of protecting yourself, to try to have a fence and to build a wall, but also don't forget about the last resort, which is basically backup or the restore procedures, right? So I will take about 2 minutes to talk about key concepts for us. We do say that we have a data protection strategy, and this is a 3-2-1-0 rule. Now, why this rule? I will explain briefly. So 3 comes from the 3 different copies of data. So we want, I put here like a small design. So this is a virtual machine, or this is a set of data, right? You need to create 2 copies of it, right? So these are 2 backups, or can be a replica and a backup, or different ways, right? So minimum of 3, because the idea is if data is lost and the source data is lost, if you have only 1 copy, you might find out, for example, with ransomware, that the data that is there in the backup is infected as well, right? So if you recover, or if you find out that this is not recoverable, or not as in the quality that you expected, right? Then you are again in a difficult spot. So the good idea is to have 3 copies in total. So 1 source of data and 2 copies. And we also say that we need 2 different type of media. So this is why we put the 2 here. Now, what is this 2 different type of media? It refers of the media that is used to store the electronic data. So we do know the system have disk. Majority of the software of the applications that are running today are running on hardware, and this hardware basically is built with spinning disk. We do know that a new type of media, and I'm going to put an F from flash, or it can be solid state disk, SSDs, other type of flash. So we have spinning disk, we have flash, and traditionally we have another medium for this storage. It's the tape, right? So we want to have all 3 in an ideal scenario. Of course, if for example, if the source data is running on flash, we can back up on a disk system, right? Or if we're running on disk system, you can put a copy on another device that has this. But a good idea is to also have a different type of media. Like you can also use a tape. You can use these all combinations in order to avoid what is called the data corruption, right? So if the data is corrupted in one medium, you can rely on a different one. Now, keep in mind, there are several risks that affect, for example, one type of medium. And the idea to have 2 different type of medium is because they are not exposed to the same risk. Like if you imagine one common scenario is a disk system that is vibrating or operating in a room with high temperature. So this can create the conditions for failure, right? So if a disk is too hot, it can fail. If it vibrates, of course, it can shake this spinning head and basically fail again. But not the same thing happens with the tape or with flash, right? So you can shake flash or the tape, it doesn't happen. Nothing happens to it, right? So that's why we recommend this too. And we also say that it's good to have one copy of site, meaning in a different area, maybe in a different building, in order to be able to recover after an entire site has been, damaged. And the only thing specific in this rule to Vim, because you can apply this, you can take this rule and apply to with any products out there. If you do this, basically, you are not constrained to one product to do this. The only one which I made it with green is this 0 at the end, which is kind of specific to us. So we want no errors with recovery, right? So what that means is when you restore data, you should be able to recover it fully. So there is only one way to do this, and this is by doing testing. And of course, testing takes time, and it's a manual process in many of the cases. And it's like nobody's happy to perform testing. Like you do a backup and then perform a test recovery. Nobody likes that, right? So we are able to automate and make this happen. And one of the things that we can do also with this is to perform, for example, a recovery and to scan for malicious software like ransomware. So we can do this and we can take action. And if we see that the data is encrypted or there is something going on there, we can take action to production systems as well. So it's kind of a good way to have it. But again, this kind of points in the direction of Vim with the testing, because many vendors can do testing, but it just puts it in your hand, and we can automate, and we can do this automatically, and you can get reporting. And keep in mind, this is a recovery test, not a backup checksum test, right? So we don't check, we do that as well. So after you transfer data and we have a copy, we just make some checksums and we can tell you that the backup process finished successfully, but this is the recovery test we are talking about here. So one more thing to get things straight. On the vertical, on the horizontal axis, you have time, right? So this is, time is passing, and at some point something happens, and you have an outage. You find out that something, I don't know, can be a hardware failure, can be anything. It can be ransomware, right? So you find out that there is something there, and you are offline because the data is not available anymore, and basically you have you have a time to act and to put data back and to start again all your applications. So this is, for us, this is recovery time objective, RTO. This is the amount of time you spend after something goes on until you are back online, right? Back to operational state. The interval you lose, so this is your last backup and your last restore point, is the recovery point objective. So imagine that you do a weekly backup, right? And if something goes on and you find out that is wrong, your RPO is basically 7 days. So you lose last 7 days because your last backup can be a week before, right? If you do daily, then the RPO is 24 hours. If you do more often, like every hour, your RPO is 1 hour, because you have a restore point and you can go back, right? You can recover to last known good state. So with these two terms defined, what we want to achieve, basically, you will see, I will focus more on how to recover data, but I think we have time to talk a little bit about how fast you can do backups, right? So recovery point objective, how to decrease that. The ideal scenario is not to lose anything and to be back online operational. But if this is zero, so all your losses are zero and you want no time, you can basically target cluster solution, right? Some implementations that is, allow a tolerance level. But however, the disasters can happen, right? So not all disaster is a hardware failure. Not all disasters are, leading with a cluster that can survive. So you can have, I know that unfortunately in Albania you have earthquakes. In Romania we have them too. We also had some big ones in the past. So we know that this can impact, and of course nobody wants them, but this can happen, right? So they can affect also systems as well. We know that we have floods, for example, quite common in some areas. We know that fire, hardware failures, or these kind of disasters. And I would add here that these malicious attacks, like cyber attacks, that can basically encrypt data or to destroy data. And they have the similar outcome like other natural disaster, right? So if this happens, no cluster will survive. If you have a cluster solution that is able to survive earthquakes, storms, and fire, you still need to do backups and to do this copy that you are able to recover from. So we know that, and this is my personal opinion here, we know that at the very beginning, like 20, 30 years ago, people are building viruses for computers to basically delete data and destroy it, right? Today, there is a much more activity in this scenario, and all these threats from the past evolved to something that the attackers can cash in, right? So before they had only, like a recognition that somebody was able to destroy a system, but today we see this. You can be an attacker and actually ask for money, and this is the main difference here, because they can charge if they destroy something or they lock data, right? And they ask for ransom. That's why we call this attack a ransomware attack, that they affect something and they ask for money to give you back the data. So it's, again, for us, matter of data protection when we back up data or we create replicas for data, and then the ability to recover it from that is the key to survive any kind of disaster, right? So this explains this 3-to-1 0 data protection strategy. And I'm going to specifics now because I'm going to Vim, and obviously we do have a backup server. So that's I will show you in a demo the console of the backup server. He's the brain of the whole solution, right? So the backup server is where you install the software, and this will give you the console to work with. And in the console you can define the jobs and add several components. If it's a small environment, you can have all-in-one deployment, like all the other components that I'm going to talk about, you can run on one server. But in order to have more protection, right, more data that is protected, more virtual machines and agents and stuff like this, you'll probably need a proxy. So Vim proxy it's a component. You can find it also as a data mover. So this is the server or the component that is processing the data and creates the copy, right? Backup server keeps the jobs, all the definitions, but when it has to execute a job, it will run through a proxy. So proxy is in charge to transfer data, to apply compression, the duplication, and all these features, maybe to encrypt data, and of course to send it or to store it to a Vim backup repository. Now, backup repository for us, it's a role that you can use to define the storage required to store these backups. Now, one thing to keep in mind here, because we give flexibility to everybody, we actually, so Vim is 100% software, and if you need hardware, of course, you need to provide it. Now, there are some integration with specific devices, and especially in the enterprise area, with devices like backup appliances, right, where they are built to store data and in an efficient way. So by efficiency, meaning to shrink it, to make less of it, so they can have better deduplication and compression mechanism. They can offer higher capacities and stuff like this. But also in terms of reliability, right? So they can survive disk failures, they can replicate data to a different device like that, and all this kind of stuff. So we provide flexibility, so you can choose here, you can choose whatever type of storage. I will show you in the demo, as I said. But you can also go for appliances, right? From backup appliances from different vendors. And there are two vendors that I like to mention here. The first one is HPE with StoreOnce. This is a purpose-built backup appliance, providing data efficiency with compression, dedupe. And the second device is Dell EMC Data Domain, which is again a backup appliance built with the purpose to shrink data, to put more data into it, and to have data available whenever you choose to restore. So on the high level architecture, this is the backup server. Typically, we can protect virtual environments, right, with VMware or Hyper-V or Nutanix. Or you can also have physical hosts like servers with Windows, Linux, and several IX and Solaris, these Unix systems. With the mention that for the physical systems, we need to run an agent. So you can install an agent on the operating system, right? So in order to protect that physical system. With integration with VMware and Hyper-V and Nutanix, you don't need to install agents, right? So everything is done through this integration that we have with these platforms. So a proxy, as I said, is basically a component. You can have one or multiple proxy that is processing data. So the backup will flow, will read the data from the source. It will go through these proxies and it will go through the backup repository. And here you have a large number of options, right? As I said, you can use servers, which can be a Windows or Linux server with storage, or you can use storage devices like HPE StoreOnce or EMC Data Domain. And of course, you can have multiple places where to store data. So you can also transfer it, for example, through a tape server to tapes, or you can, you can do a copy to maybe to a different location. You can also use object storage, like cloud storage for long-term archival. So that's basically the main architecture. Now, let me take a look. I forgot to mention that in the GoToWebinar, you have a question section where you can put your questions, and I'm trying to read and, of course, to reply to these questions. There is also a chat you can also use that to talk with us, right? So if you have a question, the best is to go to the questions section. Now, let me go back to the slides. So restore options. As I said, basically after an attack, you need to recover, right? So after an incident, we can provide several restore options. And I think we'll talk about two of them today. Really important to recover an entire virtual machine or an entire system. And this can be done by using full restore or instant recovery. And now the difference between these two is quite interesting, because with a full restore, if you have an amount of data to restore, like for example 1 terabyte or several VMs with maybe 10 terabytes, you will start recovery and you will put the data back, right? After you put the data back, you can power on these virtual machines. So the RTO, recovery time objective, if the data set is large, the recovery time objective will also like grow in, you need more time to restore. Now, instant recovery is one of the best things we have in the product, because what you can do is to basically present the data without restoring, but to start, for example, these machines from the backup itself, right? So you don't have to wait for the copy. You just restore instant in no time, and basically then you can after the restart, after the restore happened, you can move the data. And typically, if you restore to VMware or to Hyper-V, it takes some time to move the data, but keep in mind that the machine is working, right? So it's powered on. So this time for recover, usually it takes only a few minutes to start, and then in the background we move the data. So data is accessible immediately in minutes instead of hours or maybe days. And the third and fourth, one of the key elements here, if you want to recover only a set of files, like for example, it can happen that for some VMs, you don't need everything there, right? You just need the database, for example. So it makes no sense to recover the entire system if you only need a table inside the database. So for that, we do have granular restores, and this can be applied to files and folders and to application items, like for example databases, mail servers, application servers, so on and so forth. And we have several, we call them explorers. So they are specialized tools for different applications like SQL Server, Oracle database, that will give us a view of the data inside the database, and of course the ability to recover only that part. And the third is restore to cloud. So typically when you restore to the same server, you basically don't change format, right? You just take the data from there and put it back. But if you go to a different platform, for example, you can, I would put here restore to cloud, but it's also restore to a different platform. Like for example, if you have Hyper-V and you want to restore to VMware, we will apply a transformation, right? So we will change the format of the data in order to do recover to a different platform. And of course, this applies to cloud. If you want to go to Azure, or if you want to go to other cloud service like Amazon, AWS, you can do that. So let me, before going to restores, let me just go to my console. So this is the console that I have. This is the Vim Backup and Replication console. And let's go to information. This is the latest version of the product, Vim Backup and Replication 10. This is part of Vim Availability Suite, meaning that it's Vim1, which is the monitoring and reporting part, is also part of this. They are in a different console, but now this Vim backup application, it's also monitored by Vim1. So my server is already up and running for a number of days, and I have a lot of backup jobs. But don't get scared, because if you do an installation and if you just install the product, you will have a very no jobs defined, and you will have only few things on the interface. So it's easier at first, and things will start to show up as you use the product. So first thing after you install the product is to go to backup infrastructure, and you see here the proxies. I have several defined, but I also want you to see here. So I have a Linux proxy, I have two network proxy, two hotad proxy, and two physical proxy, right? So when you install the product, what you will see here, it's only one proxy, and that role is assigned to the backup server itself. So the backup server is also proxy, and that's okay for small environments. Like if you have 200 virtual machines or maybe 300, that's absolutely fine to run with one proxy. As things go, if you have more, if you have maybe 1,000 virtual machines, then maybe you need different proxies, right? So if this is the case, you just need to add. And to add something, you just go and say, okay, I need a VMware proxy, and you have maybe a server or a virtual machine that you want to use to, so you just add new, you put your IP, it can be Linux or Windows, you put your IP and basically just finish the wizard, and we will install this, the required services on the proxy machine. The same thing with the repository, right? So I need something to start the backups, right? Which is by default the backup server itself. So kind of optional if you have a limited number of VMs. But of course, you need space, right? You need storage for the backup. So you can add repository, and here you have the option to use maybe a Windows or Linux server, or you can add a network attached storage or object storage, but also this deduplicating storage appliances. So here you have several options. You can see here data domain is the first, Exagrid, StoreOnce, and Quantum. I think the main appliances used are Dell EMC and HP StoreOnce. So I can already, if you add this one, you'll have to input the address, for example, for the data domain, right? So if you use fiber channel, then you add by the fiber channel connection, or you can use Ethernet, and then you type here the IP, for example, or the name of the device, right? And credentials, and then of course we can use that space. I have StoreOnce, and I have a StoreOnce 5100. I can show you on the properties of that device. So this is the IP. I'm using IP for connection, not fiber channel, because this is a lab. And but if I had fiber channel, I'll just check this box. And we go, and after we have the name, we can read the data from that. So I have a Catalyst store. It's called Demo1. There is an option to populate here and to read the numbers, how much capacity I have, how much free space. And of course, you can limit the number of tasks assigned to that, and limit for example, to 1024. This is, will limit the amount of writes and reads to the appliance to a particular value. And yeah, basically after you put that, you can use these appliances I have also the Dell EMC, so I will just show you also that one. So it's EMC data domain. It's kind of similar. So I'm just going to show you the specifics. Again, this is using Ethernet. I have the credentials for the appliance, and I see the repository, which is basically the storage assigned to me. And here I have a limitation to 15 concurrent tasks, which is more than enough. This is a small appliance that I'm having. So good. After you have a proxy and a repository, you can start doing backups, right? One more thing. In inventory, we have a physical infrastructure. So here you can add agents, and you can see here I have they are called protection groups, and there are collections, for example, of agents, and also file share. So I can add a file share like SMB share. Like you can see here, I have a share that has been added, so I can start backing it up, right? First, I need to add it. And on virtual infrastructure, I have VMware. I have a vCenter server here. So you can add by name or IP, and you will see your vCenter, and nothing else is needed, because after we have the connection to the vCenter, we can read the configuration for all the virtual machines, so you can have them listed here. After you do that and you add your physical or virtual servers, you can just go to home and you can do backup of virtual machines, or backup to Linux computer or to shares, whatever source data is, right? And you can also see Amazon EC2 here, so you can protect natively Amazon instances. And it's coming also for Amazon, for Microsoft Azure. So you'll have an option here for Azure. It's possible to do now, but it's not shown here in the interface. So native backup for Azure VMs. So I have a lot of jobs, as you see. I'll just take one. And for example, this is a VMware backup from a snapshot. So I have a storage device that is able to use the storage snapshot. And I have these two VMs that I'm backing up. So this is the two VMs that I'm talking about. So let me, if you want to define a job, let me show you how you can define a job. First, you need a name. Then you need to add here being a VMware backup job, I can add VMware virtual machines, right? So I can just take number of virtual machines. You can do selection using control, and you can add them here. You can also see I can add an entire data store. So if you just change your view here, so you can see this is the host and cluster view. If you want an entire data store view, so you can, for example, this is a 3-par data store, right? And 3 virtual machines that are running on this data store. You can select an entire data store. You can also go to virtual machine and templates, which will display the folders you have and all this. So it's a good idea to, for example, to take an entire object like this, many VMs, because what that means is whenever we are running a backup, we are just going to ask the vCenter, hey, can you provide a list of all the virtual machines in that data store or in that folder, right? So it's kind of easy to automate. If somebody just create a virtual machine and puts on the data store, because I have a job that is backup the entire data store, you don't need to create a new backup job for a particular VM. It's backed up with all the other VMs. And the next is which proxy you should select. The good practice is to keep this on automatic, and the repository. So here on the repository, you can choose. I have a lot of repositories, so you can choose, for example, HPE store ones, right? And the amount of restore points or number of days. So keep in mind, this This can be the same. I mean, if you put here 30 days or 30 restore points, it will, okay, for me, this is a small wording, let's put 20. If I'm running this backup daily, then yes, restore points or days is the same thing. But if I run this backup every day, like 4 times every day, that's 4 restore points in 1 day. So that will be a difference, right? So keep in mind, because this also with the schedule is kind of connected, right? You can do archival with GFS retention, like number of months or years. And you can also select a secondary copy. And you can see if you just click here, there is a secondary copy that needs to be selected. Now, because I changed the repository, I need to move backup first. So I will not do that. Okay, on secondary target, you can have, for example, another job or backup to tape. So you can configure a lot of options here as well. And on guest processing, if you have applications like I will show you later on SQL, Oracle, we can talk with the application and create a consistent state of that application. And then you just need to schedule it. And this job is running automatically every day at 10:40. And or you can do, for example, every hour if you want, or you know, monthly on last day of the month, or any schedule that you want. It's that easy. So if you apply, the job is finished, and you will have a job like I have here, several. And of course, if you run them, it will create a full backup and incremental backups and all this, and you will have always displayed how long it took. For example, this job it takes 3 minutes, about 4 minutes to finish. This is the processing rate and how much data we transferred. So you can see that the source data is about 100 gigabytes. We read about 6.4, and we actually transferred just few megabytes. And this is because of the compression and dedupe we have. For appliances, when you target an appliance like data domain or store ones, a good idea is to keep this. I will just show you this one. I think it's if you go here to storage and go to advanced, it's a good idea to change. You see, by default, the compression level is optimal. Here it's set as dedupe friendly. So because we put the data on an appliance, we will let the appliance perform the best compression and dedupe they can perform, right? So we just put the data in a dedupe friendly format. And on storage optimization, we put local target. This is specific for store ones, right? So this is, if you change this, for example, you put it like this, and if you click OK, and I think you go next, you see there is a warning saying that the advanced settings, can you change to recommended? Because we know there is a store ones there and can save more data if you change these values, right? So it can, it suggests that storage optimization needs to be set on local target, large blocks, right? So I will just not save this. I will just leave it like this. And yeah, because we are getting close to, I would just want to show you some restores. And yes, I have few things here about instant recovery. We are going to perform an instant recovery that will take about 2 minutes. And I'm going to show you item level recovery as well, and Vim Explorers. So let me just go here, and because we have backups, and I have multiple copies of data, right? So I have backup on disk, I have backups on tape, I have also in external repository, this is a cloud repository that I have. So if I'm going to disk, for example, and I'm just having here, let's say one of the backup to store runs. Maybe this is good, right? So I have here 3 virtual machines that are sitting on store runs, and I want to perform instant VM recovery. Now, what I need to do is to select which backup, so which restore point. By default, the latest restore point is selected, and here you can restore to original location, or I'm going to use a different location, because what I want to do is just to restore this virtual machine with a different name. So I'll just put here restored on the same ESX server, on the same pools, and without redirecting the right cache. And one important option here is to scan for virus threats. Of course, can be ransomware, can be anything. And if you check this, we can use a scanner, like a solution for security, to provide this virtual machine to that solution. That solution perform the scans and just give us the feedback and say, hey, we find nothing, or there is something, and if there is something, we can abort the recovery, right? So really important stuff in terms of security and ransomware. So I will just leave this because it will just take a bit more time and we don't have time. So I will just power on this virtual machine, and let me, because now there is a instant recovery in progress, I want to show you something. It will just take a few minutes. I will close this because this is in here, so you will see it will be displayed here. Let me just go to vSphere and open the web client and launch the client. Here I'm going to authenticate myself, and there will be some activity here, right? So there is a registered virtual machine, and this happens right now. And you can see this virtual machine appeared here. This is the name we gave it. This is a domain controller, and I have this restored, and you can already launch the console. So this, it doesn't really matter how big this virtual machine is, but the disks here are about 20 and 40 gigabytes in size. I think this has a 40 gigabytes disk. We didn't copy this data, we just present it. So if you go here and go to edit settings, you will find that the hard drives are not on a data store. This is presented from the backup server itself. So there is a presentation to VMware. This is a mount point, and this virtual machine will start from the store runs appliance, right? So now all the data is flowing from the store runs to VMware. It's processing, and this will boot up. This virtual machine will start in a few minutes. The idea is that you already have it here. So what you can do now is to migrate to production. So once you migrate to production, you can fully recover, let's say. You can move it also with VMware storage vMotion to the original location. So we can change storage only. Okay, this next. So you can put it on a different cluster or on a different okay, in production cluster. Okay, I don't have enough privileges to assign. That's a different thing. But of course, you can move it, right? So this is a running VM, and of course, you can do every magic you can in VMware, like storage vMotion or something like this. And one more thing about, I will leave this running. One more thing about the recovery of files, right? So because for us, it's really easy once we store the data to open that file, and we put all the data for backups in files. We can open it and look into the data, and of course allow you to recover granularly, like any disk or any folder or any file. So here I have explorers for files, And because this is a domain controller, I also have this, I don't see it here, but maybe on this one, no, probably because this job is without, I can show you it on Exchange. And with Exchange, I see restore application items, and here I have an Exchange Explorer. So when you open the Explorer, let me show you the difference. This will show us only the data from all the partitions and all the disks. So you can go here, for example, this logs, and I want to recover this file. So I just hit recover, and it will just go to that place and recover my file. And here the Explorer for Exchange, you see it has a different look. It will show us all the mailboxes, right? So these are the two mailbox stores that are running on this Exchange server. So you can go and basically, if you have a user, you can see all the user content, like all the emails, whatever it's in inbox. So you can take one email and hit restore, right? Restore to a particular, to the same mailbox, or maybe to a different one. And these explorers are basically specialized tools for restore.
Cornel, can you hear us? La Fanny, punct getting problem technic sistem engineering admin, addressing pack.
Hi guys, Cornel experiencing some issues with the internet. He's trying to reconnect in a couple of minutes. Apologies for this delay.
Okay, no problem. La Fanny per paprido, sto problem papri.
Okay, I think I lost my internet connection. I'm reconnecting. Basically, yeah, a good time to lose internet connection just at the end, because we are already a bit over. And yeah, my explorers are still working. So yeah, they are here. Let's just go back here. So one restore completed successfully. Let me just go back to my virtual machine, which already has been restored, and now it's operational. So I can send Control Del and connect to this VM. So with that, basically, I think our time is up. I'm just going to questions to see if there is any questions. I don't see anything. So I think we are just at the end of this. Let me go back to the slides. Of course, I will send you these slides. This is the Vim Explorer for Active Directory, Exchange, Microsoft SQL, SharePoint, Oracle databases, and storage snapshots. If you have devices like storage device like a Dell EMC or other devices that can perform storage snapshot, we can recover from there as well. And yeah, we don't have time for sure backup, so I will just go at the end and thank you for being with us. Hopefully we will have more events like this in the future, so we can explore more about technology and what options we do have for backups, but also for recovery. So thank you again.
Thank you so time. Thank you so time. So we can organize another session based on the request, on the customer requests. We can organize another session to see the demo and the involvement of the version 10. Also the Vim1 monitoring and reporting system and the tightly integration with Vim BR. So for those who are interested, all of customers, they can send us an email on our contact forms, and we can represent to you directly to create private sessions for testing and demos. It's very good enough for us, so we can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for being with us, and thank you for attending. And thank you, Manuel and Jan, for supporting us and organizing this.
Thank you too, Cornel and Ana. Faleminderit gjithëve për pjesëmarrjen, për gjithçka që do donit keni interes në vazhdimsi për testime dhe për demo teknike ose prezantim të produktit, mund t'ju sigurojmë ambient për gjithë klientët kush ka dëshirë. Ju lutem na kontaktoni. Shumë faleminderit gjithëve për kohën dhe ndjes për shkëputjen e pa pritur. Ju urojmë gjithë mirat, ditën e mirë. Faleminderit.